Nico walked through the rocky terrain of Viridia, a planet at the edge of human exploration. The sky was painted in shades of red and orange, with jagged cliffs casting long shadows over the barren land. He adjusted his worn armor, feeling the weight of it pressing on his shoulders. Every scratch and dent reminded him of the battles he had fought and the missions he had completed. Humans were rare on Viridia, and soldiers like him were considered both explorers and protectors. The air was thin and dry, making each breath a little harder than the last. Nico scanned the horizon with careful eyes. He had been patrolling this section for several hours, checking for any signs of danger. The Zirian clans, the native alien people of this planet, were unpredictable. Some were friendly, some were not. Humans had learned to move carefully here, respecting the customs of the tribes while remaining alert for any threat. Suddenly, a sharp sound broke the quiet. It was a cry, high-pitched and desperate, echoing from the cliffs above. Nico froze. His heart beat faster. The sound was unmistakably from a living being, and it was in trouble. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the source, navigating the uneven ground with agility. He jumped over jagged rocks and ducked under hanging stones, his armor scraping but holding firm. At the edge of a deep canyon, Nico stopped and looked up. There, perched on a narrow ledge, was a young Zirian girl. Her hair shimmered like silver in the dim light, and her eyes were wide with fear. She clutched the edge of the rock as pieces of the cliff crumbled around her. It was Princess Alara, the daughter of Queen Salara, leader of the Zirian tribe. The bridge she had been crossing had partially collapsed. Leaving her trapped and unable to climb back, Nico did not hesitate. He assessed the distance and the falling debris. His armor was strong, but it could not protect him from a full collapse. He took a deep breath and ran toward the edge. Reaching down, he called out, "Hold on, I will get you." His voice was steady, confident. Alara looked at him, her fear turning into hope. He threw a rope toward her, but the ledge was unstable. Rocks shifted under her weight. Nico adjusted, climbing carefully along the crumbling path. Each step required focus and strength. Finally, he reached a position close enough to grab her hand. "Take my hand," he shouted. Her small hand closed over his, and he pulled with all his might. Suddenly, a large piece of rock gave way beneath him. Nico's armor cracked as he fell, sliding down the slope but holding onto Alara. Dust and small stones rained down, hitting both of them, but Nico did not let go. He felt pain in his side where the armor had broken, but he ignored it. Saving her life mattered more than his own safety. With one last effort, he pulled her to a safer spot on the cliff. Away from the danger of falling rocks, Alara collapsed, shaking but alive. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was soft, almost musical. Nico nodded, catching his breath. "It is my duty to help," he said simply. He examined his broken armor. The cracks ran across the chest plate and shoulder guards. He winced, but there was no time to fix it now. The immediate danger had passed, but the cliffs were still unstable. Suddenly, movement appeared from the opposite side of the canyon. A group of Zirian scouts approached, their eyes wide with caution. They stopped when they saw Nico holding the princess. The leader, a tall alien with blue markings on his face, raised a hand. "Who is this human?" he asked in the Zirian tongue. Alara stepped forward, her voice strong now. "He saved me," she said. "He risked his life for me. He is not our enemy." The scouts looked at each other, unsure. Humans were outsiders, and their presence often brought fear. But the princess's words carried weight. Slowly, the leader nodded. "If the princess speaks, we listen," he said. The scouts helped Nico and Alara down the cliff to solid ground. Nico's body ached, but he felt a quiet satisfaction. He had saved her life, and perhaps earned a chance to prove himself to the tribe. As they walked toward the Zirian camp, Nico noticed Alara glancing at him with curiosity. She was young, perhaps only 16 cycles old in human terms, but there was a wisdom in her eyes. "Why did you risk yourself for me?" she asked. Nico shrugged, feeling the soreness in his side. "Because it was the right thing to do," he answered simply. "Anyone would have done the same." Alara shook her head. "Humans are different," she said. Most of the ones we see are only here for profit or war. You fought for me without hesitation. That is unusual." Nico smiled faintly. "Maybe humans are not as different as you think," he said. "We can be honorable too." The camp was quiet as they approached. Xerian guards and villagers paused to observe the human who had saved their princess. Queen Solara appeared, tall and regal, her presence commanding attention. Her eyes scanned Nico carefully, noting the broken armor and the determination in his stance. "You are brave," she said in a calm voice. "But bravery alone does not earn trust. Humans have caused harm in the past. Why should I welcome you into my world?" Nico bowed slightly. "I asked for nothing but the chance to prove myself," he said. His voice was firm but respectful. Queen Solara studied him for a long moment. Then she gestured to Alara. "Come, child. Let us see if this human can show more than courage." Inside the camp, Nico was treated with cautious respect. He received water and food, and Alara guided him to a place to rest. The other Xerian children watched him with curiosity, some whispering to each other. Nico felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. This was his first close encounter with the Xerian people, and he knew that winning their trust would be difficult. The evening sky turned dark, with 2 moons rising above the horizon. Fires were lit in the camp, casting warm light on the faces of the Xerian people. Nico sat quietly, cleaning his broken armor as best he could. The cracks were deep, but they told a story of courage and sacrifice. He knew that when Queen Solara saw the armor, she would understand that he had risked everything to save her daughter. Alara sat beside him. "You are not afraid," she said, watching him work. Nico shook his head. "Fear is natural, but action matters more than fear," he said. She nodded slowly, absorbing his words. "I want to learn from you," she said. "Not about fighting, but about humans. Why you think, why you care." Nico looked at her thoughtfully. "Humans survive because we care," he said. "We care for others, for our families, for our friends. Caring gives us strength. Even when the world is harsh, caring helps us act with purpose." Alara smiled faintly. "Maybe your world is not so different from ours," she said suddenly. A sound of movement interrupted them. A Xerian scout entered, speaking urgently to Queen Solara. Nico stood immediately, ready to act if needed. The scout reported that a nearby canyon had signs of instability, with loose rocks that could endanger the camp. Nico recognized the danger instantly. "I can help reinforce it," he said. Queen Solara looked at him, her eyes narrowing slightly. "You wish to risk yourself again?" she asked. Nico nodded. "If it protects your people, yes." Queen Solara considered for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Show us your human skill," she said. Nico followed the scouts to the canyon, examining the rocks and pathways. Using simple tools and careful planning, he began to stabilize the area. Alara assisted, learning quickly from his methods. Together, they worked through the night, moving stones and securing loose edges by dawn. The canyon was safe. Queen Solara observed the result, her face showing a mix of surprise and respect. "Your actions have saved more than one life tonight," she said. "Perhaps humans can be trusted more than I thought." Nico bowed his head. "I only do what is right," he said. Alara looked at him with admiration. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met," she said softly. Nico smiled faintly, feeling a quiet warmth. He knew that this was only the beginning. Trust was earned slowly, and he had taken the first step. Saving the princess had opened a door into a new world, one that he hoped to understand and protect. As the sun rose, painting the sky in gold, Nico stood at the edge of the canyon. He looked at the distant horizon, feeling the weight of responsibility and the promise of new beginnings. He had broken his armor, but in doing so, he had proven that courage, compassion, and determination were stronger than any metal. For the first time on Veridia, a human was not just an outsider. He was someone who could make a difference. And Nico knew that the journey ahead would test him even more, challenging his strength, his heart, and his humanity. But he was ready. The princess's life had been saved, but the adventure was just beginning. And Nico, the human soldier with cracked armor and unwavering courage, was prepared to face whatever the universe had in store. The morning sun spilled golden light across the Xerian camp. Birds with glowing feathers flew above the rocky cliffs, their calls echoing in the quiet valleys. Nico awoke on a simple mat, his cracked armor patched just enough to let him move. His side still ached from the fall during the rescue, but he felt alive, stronger for having faced danger and protected Princess Alara. He stepped outside the small tent and looked at the camp. Xerian warriors were already practicing their drills. Their movements were precise, almost dance-like, showing their strength and discipline. Nico watched carefully, noting their tactics. He knew that if he wanted to gain the Queen's trust, he needed to understand their ways and prove that humans could contribute, not just fight. Princess Alara approached him, her silver hair glinting in the sunlight. "Good morning," she said softly. Her expression was serious, but not unfriendly. "You are awake early. The Queen wishes to speak with you." Nico nodded. He followed her through the camp, stepping over woven mats and past small families tending to their alien livestock. The villagers glanced at him with curiosity, some whispering as he passed. Humans were rare visitors, and many still did not trust them fully. Queen Selara waited in a small courtyard at the center of the camp. Her tall figure and regal posture commanded attention. When she saw Nico approaching, her eyes softened slightly, but there was still caution in her gaze. "You have saved my daughter," she said. "Your courage is evident, but courage alone is not enough. To truly earn our trust, you must prove your loyalty, wisdom, and respect for our people." Nico bowed respectfully. "I understand, Your Majesty," he said. "I am ready to do whatever is required." The Queen nodded. "Then you shall face trials. These tasks will test your mind, your body, and your heart. If you succeed, you will show that humans are capable of honor, just as the Xerians are." Princess Alara's eyes brightened. "I will guide you," she said. "These trials are not easy, but I believe you can do them." Nico smiled faintly. "Thank you," he said. "I will do my best." The first trial was simple in theory, but dangerous in practice. Nico was asked to navigate the Forest of Echoes, a dense area filled with twisting paths, hidden crevices, and dangerous creatures. The forest was known to confuse travelers, even those who knew it well. Nico's task was to retrieve a rare herb that only grew deep in the forest. This herb was essential for healing a wounded Xerian warrior who had been injured in a border skirmish. Alara led him to the forest's edge. "The paths shift with the wind," she explained. "You must rely on your mind and senses, not just your strength." Nico nodded. "I will be careful," he said. Together, they stepped into the forest, the air cooler beneath the thick canopy. The forest was alive with sounds: rustling leaves, distant animal calls, and the soft hum of glowing plants. Nico carefully observed everything, noting the patterns in the light and shadow. He remembered his training, patience, observation, and logic were as important as strength. Hours passed as he and Alara moved carefully, avoiding pitfalls and clever traps set by nature itself. Finally, deep in the forest, Nico spotted the herb. Its leaves shimmered with a faint blue glow. Just as he reached for it, a creature lunged from the shadows, a predator with sharp claws and glowing eyes. Nico reacted instantly, using a branch to block the creature's attack. Alara shouted, "Aim for its flank, not its face." Following her guidance, Nico managed to push the creature away without harming it. He grabbed the herb and began the careful journey back, with Alara guiding him through the safest paths. When they returned to the camp, Queen Selara examined the herb. "You have succeeded in your first trial," she said. "You have shown observation, quick thinking, and respect for life. These are qualities we value." Nico felt a surge of pride. He had passed the first test, but he knew the trials would grow more difficult. The second trial tested his diplomacy and understanding. Queen Selara informed him that rival Xerian clans had gathered nearby, preparing to challenge her leadership. Nico's task was to negotiate peace and prevent a conflict that could escalate into violence. Humans were outsiders, and many doubted their ability to mediate without bias. But Nico welcomed the challenge. He studied the traditions of the Xerians, learning how respect and words carried weight. When he approached the rival clans, He spoke carefully, using simple gestures and a calm voice. "We are not enemies," he said. "We seek understanding, not war. The survival of your people and ours depends on cooperation." The leaders of the rival clans were cautious. They observed Nico, unsure of his intentions. But Princess Alera's presence and his genuine demeanor made a difference. Nico shared stories of humans and their struggles, highlighting perseverance, empathy, and the importance of unity. Slowly, the rival clans began to lower their guard. After hours of dialogue, they agreed to halt hostilities and form a temporary alliance. Returning to the camp, Nico reported the outcome. Queen Solera's eyes gleamed with approval. "You have shown wisdom and understanding," she said. "You respect life, culture, and tradition. This is rare among outsiders." Alera smiled at him. "You are learning quickly," she said. "I am proud of you." The third trial was physical and mental combined. Nico was asked to retrieve crystals from the Cavern of Whispers, a dangerous underground site filled with narrow tunnels and unstable rock formations. These crystals were essential for healing Xerian soldiers who had been injured in previous conflicts. The cavern was dark and disorienting, and anyone who entered had to rely on both skill and careful thinking. Nico descended into the cavern with Alera at his side. The walls glowed faintly with mineral veins, casting eerie shadows. The tunnels twisted unpredictably, and the sound of dripping water echoed like whispers in the distance. At one point, the path split into several narrow corridors, each leading in a different direction. Nico paused, considering carefully. He observed the markings on the walls, noticing patterns that indicated which path was safest. Hours passed as they navigated the labyrinthine passages. At one point, a section of the cavern began to collapse. Nico acted quickly, holding up a fallen beam and guiding Alera to safety. They reached the crystal chamber, a large open space filled with glowing blue stones. Carefully, Nico selected the crystals, ensuring that the cavern remained stable. On their way back, they encountered another challenge, a river of fast-moving water cutting through the tunnel. Nico fashioned a simple bridge using loose rocks and a fallen log. With careful coordination, they crossed safely. When they emerged from the cavern, the camp erupted in cheers. Nico had completed the trial, demonstrating bravery, intelligence, and teamwork. Queen Solara studied him closely. "You have done well," she said. "You show courage, respect, and cleverness. You also care for others, not just yourself. These are qualities that define a true protector." Over the next few days, Nico continued to work alongside the Xerians. He learned their customs, their language, and their way of life. He shared stories of Earth, teaching them simple tools and techniques that could make their lives easier. He showed them how humans solve problems creatively, using limited resources in clever ways. The younger Xerian warriors began to look up to him, admiring his bravery and his kindness. Some initially doubted him, thinking a human could not understand their world. But seeing him act selflessly and with respect for their traditions changed their minds. Even older warriors nodded in approval, recognizing that courage and intelligence transcended species. Princess Alera spent time with him daily, learning not just about humans but about trust and collaboration. She began to see Nico not as an outsider, but as someone who could bridge worlds. "You are different," she said one evening as they watched the sunset behind the cliffs. "Humans are often seen as reckless or selfish, but you are patient, careful, and strong in ways I did not expect." Nico smiled. "Every species has its own strengths," he said. "Humans survive because we care and adapt. We are strong not only in body but in heart. That is what keeps us alive and helps us protect those we love." Alera nodded. "I hope others see what I see," she said softly. "Humans may be few here, but your actions speak louder than words. Perhaps your people and ours can learn from each other." Nico felt a quiet warmth in his chest. Saving her had been the first step, but earning her respect and trust was even more important. He realized that being human did not make him weak. It allowed him to act in ways that others could not. He could combine courage, empathy, and intelligence to achieve what seemed impossible. By the end of the trials, Queen Solara called a gathering of the clan. You have observed this human's actions, she said to her people. He has faced our trials, protected our princess, and helped our tribe without hesitation. He has shown that humans are capable of honor, loyalty, and courage. We have much to learn from him, and perhaps he has much to learn from us. But he has earned our respect. The crowd erupted in applause. Nico bowed respectfully, feeling a mix of pride and humility. He had earned a place among the Xerians, not as an outsider, but as a trusted ally. Princess Alara stood beside him, her eyes shining with admiration as the night fell over the camp. Nico looked up at the stars. The trials had tested him in ways he had never imagined. He had faced danger, solved problems, and earned the trust of a people unlike any he had known. But he knew this was only the beginning. The morning sun rose over the cliffs of Viridia, casting long shadows across the village. Birds with shimmering feathers circled above, calling softly to each other. Nico walked through the camp, his armor patched but still showing the marks of past battles. He had spent weeks helping the Xerians, completing the Queen's trials, and earning the trust of the tribe. Every day, he grew more familiar with their customs and language, and every day, he learned something new about their world. Princess Alara approached him, carrying a small bundle of herbs. "Good morning, Nico," she said. "These are for the warriors who trained late yesterday. They are sore from their drills, but I thought you could help them prepare healing poultices." Nico smiled. "I will help," he said. Together, they worked with the young warriors, mixing herbs and creating simple treatments for aches and injuries. Nico noticed how carefully they followed instructions and how quickly they learned. The Xerians valued discipline and patience, and Nico admired their dedication. After the morning duties, Alara led Nico to a quiet part of the camp. "The Queen wishes to speak with you," she said. They entered a small building at the center of the village, a place where Queen Selara held private meetings. The Queen sat on a raised platform, her expression serious. "You have proven yourself in trials of courage, wisdom, and skill," she said. "You have earned respect from our people, but there are other challenges ahead. Leadership is not just about strength. It is about loyalty, understanding, and the ability to protect not only your friends, but also the entire tribe." Nico listened carefully. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am ready to learn and to help in any way I can," he said. The Queen nodded. "There are political tensions within our region," she explained. "Some clans doubt my rule. Others wish to take advantage of outsiders, like yourself, to challenge my authority. You will witness these matters closely, but you must remember that your role is to support, not interfere unless necessary." Nico nodded. "I will respect your guidance," he said. The Queen's eyes softened slightly. "Good. You are learning that true strength is not only in action, but in patience and understanding. Observe, learn, and act wisely." After the meeting, Alara led Nico to the training grounds. "You have done well with the younger warriors," she said. "But now it is time to learn about the larger responsibilities of leadership. You will see how the Xerians govern, how they handle disputes, and how they prepare for threats from other regions." Nico watched as groups of warriors practiced, their movements precise and controlled. The drills were not only physical, but also mental. Each exercise required planning, strategy, and teamwork. Nico joined in where he could, demonstrating human techniques of coordination and observation. The young warriors were eager to learn, and even some older members of the tribe began to show respect for his methods. In the days that followed, Nico faced his first political challenge. A nearby clan had sent envoys to Viridia, questioning Queen Solara's authority and demanding resources that belonged to her tribe. The meeting was tense, with voices raised and accusations exchanged. Nico observed quietly, learning the subtle cues of Xerian communication gestures, tone, and timing. Alara leaned close to him. "Speak only if necessary," she whispered. "But remember that humans have a way of finding common ground." Nico nodded. When the moment came, he spoke calmly and clearly. "There is much we can achieve if we work together," he said. "Conflict will harm everyone. Let us focus on what is needed, rather than what divides us." The leaders of the rival clan paused, surprised by the humans' clarity and confidence. Nico continued, offering practical solutions for resource sharing and mutual support. His words were simple, but they carried reason and fairness. Slowly, the rival leaders began to listen. By the end of the discussion, a temporary agreement was reached, and the threat of conflict diminished. Queen Solara watched silently, her expression thoughtful. When the meeting ended, she nodded at Nico. "You have done well," she said. "Your human perspective has shown wisdom and fairness. This is another reason to respect your presence among us." As the sun set, Nico walked with Alara along a cliffside path overlooking the valley. The sky was a deep orange, fading into purple. "You are learning quickly," she said. "I am proud of you." Nico glanced at her. "I am learning from you as much as you are from me," he said. "You show courage, wisdom, and patience. Humans can learn much from your people." Alara smiled faintly. "Perhaps that is the truth," she said. "We may be different, but we can learn from one another. That is what makes alliances strong." Their bond grew with each passing day. Nico shared stories of Earth-of-human perseverance, creativity, and compassion. He told tales of explorers facing impossible odds, of people helping strangers in need, and of communities working together to survive. The Xerians listened with fascination, some amazed that a species so far from their world shared values they held dear. Alara, in particular, was captivated. She admired Nico's courage and kindness, but also his humility. Unlike some humans she had heard of, he did not boast of achievements or demand respect. He acted quietly, guided by a sense of responsibility and fairness. She began to trust him deeply, not just as a protector, but as a friend and confidant. One evening, while the stars glittered above, Alara brought Nico to the highest cliff overlooking the camp. The two moons of Viridia shone brightly, casting silver light across the landscape. "This is where I often think," she said softly. "It reminds me that the universe is vast, and yet our choices matter. Every action can change the course of many lives." Nico nodded. "It is true," he said. "I have learned that courage alone is not enough. Wisdom, patience, and empathy are equally important, and your people teach that very well." Suddenly, a scout arrived, reporting that a rival group from another region had been seen moving toward Viridia. They were outsiders, not Xerians, and their intentions were unclear. Nico's instincts kicked in immediately. "We need to prepare," he said. "We should assess their strength and plan how to protect the camp." Queen Solara called a meeting with her council. Nico was invited to participate, not as a leader, but as an advisor. He observed carefully, offering strategic suggestions when appropriate. His perspective was different from the Xerians. He thought in terms of patterns, probabilities, and tactics. The council listened, impressed by his clarity and logic. When the outsider group arrived, it became clear they sought resources but were not prepared for battle. Nico suggested negotiation first. He approached their leader calmly, speaking in simple but firm terms. "There's enough here for everyone if we cooperate," he said. "Conflict will harm all of us. Let us find a fair solution." The outsiders were cautious, but agreed to listen. Nico guided the discussion, ensuring fairness and respect for both sides. By the end of the day, a simple agreement was made. The outsiders received what they needed without taking from the Xerians unfairly. Queen Solara's authority remained strong, and Nico had once again demonstrated the value of his human perspective. As the night fell, Nico and Alara sat quietly near the campfire. The air was cool, and the stars reflected in their eyes. "You have proven that humans can be allies, not just outsiders," Alara said. "I admire your courage and your mind. You see the world in a way we sometimes cannot." Nico smiled. "I have learned as much from you and your people as you have from me," he said. "Bravery, honor, and wisdom are not limited to one species. They are found wherever there is respect and care." Alara leaned slightly closer. "I am glad you are here," she said softly. "I hope your people and ours can continue to build a future together." Nico nodded. Feeling warmth in his chest, he realized that his journey was no longer just about proving himself through trials. It was about building connections, understanding cultures, and creating bonds that could last across worlds. He had started as a human soldier on a foreign planet, but now he was part of something larger, a story of trust, friendship, and shared purpose. The days that followed continued to test Nico, but in ways he was beginning to understand. Every action, every decision, affected not only himself, but also the people who had come to trust him. He learned patience, the importance of listening, and the power of quiet courage. He had saved a princess once, but now he was helping shape a future where humans and Xerians could stand together. And with Princess Alera by his side, he felt a connection that went beyond duty. It was trust, respect, and something he could not yet name, a bond that would guide him through challenges. He could not yet imagine. As the sun set over Viridia, Nico stood at the edge of the camp, looking out at the cliffs and valleys below. The trials had strengthened him, the challenges had taught him, and the bonds he had formed had changed him. He was no longer just a human in armor. He was a protector, a friend, and a bridge between worlds, and he knew that whatever came next, he was ready to face it with courage, wisdom, and the heart of a human who had proven that even in a world far from Earth, humans could inspire trust and hope. The sun rose slowly over Viridia, painting the rocky cliffs in shades of gold and orange. Nico stood at the edge of the camp, observing the horizon. His armor had been repaired after the trials, but the cracks still remained as a reminder of the challenges he had faced. Life in the camp had grown routine, but there was an unspoken tension in the air. Princess Alera approached him quietly, carrying a small bundle of herbs. "Good morning, Nico," she said. "I hope you slept well." "I slept enough to be ready for the day," he replied, smiling faintly. "How are the warriors?" "They are strong and improving," she said. "But you have done more than teach them fighting skills. You have taught them strategy, teamwork, and respect. They see humans differently now." Nico nodded, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction. He had come to Viridia as an outsider, but now he was part of the tribe in a meaningful way. The bond he had formed with Princess Alera was growing stronger with each passing day. Suddenly, a scout ran into the camp, panting and shouting, "Queen Salara! Outsiders approach! A fleet from the northern system is heading this way. They are armed and dangerous." Alera's eyes widened in alarm. She ran to the queen, who remained calm but alert. "How many ships?" the queen asked. "5 large ships and several smaller fighters," the scout replied. "They are fast and heavily armed. Their intention seems to be conquest." Nico felt a surge of determination. He had prepared for threats before, but this was different. The northern fleet was powerful, and the Xerians would need more than courage alone to protect their home. He stepped forward. "We can defend the camp if we act strategically," he said. "We can use the terrain to our advantage and combine human and Xerian tactics." Queen Salara regarded him carefully. "Your strategies have been successful in the past. We will rely on your advice. But remember, the safety of my people comes first. Are you ready to risk yourself again?" Nico nodded. "I am ready. Protecting your people is my duty." The camp erupted into preparation. Warriors gathered weapons, reinforced walls, and positioned themselves along the cliffs. Nico worked with Alera to coordinate defenses. They studied the incoming fleet, noting weaknesses in their formation. Nico suggested using the narrow valleys as traps where the larger ships could not maneuver easily. The Xerians adapted quickly, trusting his judgment. As the fleet approached, Nico could feel the tension in the air. The ground trembled with the hum of alien engines. He checked his armor and weapons, feeling the familiar weight that reminded him of past battles. Princess Alera stood beside him, her eyes focused and determined. "We can do this," she said. "Yes," Nico replied. "We must act with courage and intelligence." The first wave of attackers entered the valley. Nico had prepared ambush points with concealed traps and hidden forces. As the ships moved through the narrow passage, the Xerians released energy nets that immobilized several fighters. Nico coordinated the human-style flanking tactics, guiding the warriors to strike at the most vulnerable points. The attackers were strong, but the combined human and Xerian strategy created confusion in their ranks. During the fight, Nico noticed one of the larger ships heading straight for the camp. Alera, the queen's pavilion. he shouted. We must protect it. Alara nodded and rallied a group of warriors. They moved quickly to create a defensive barrier. Nico took a position on a cliff above, using his height advantage to direct energy blasts and guide the defense. The enemy ship fired repeatedly, but Nico's strategic positioning minimized damage. Suddenly, a massive piece of debris from the cliffs fell, threatening the warriors below. Nico acted without hesitation. He jumped down, intercepting the debris with his body and energy shield. Pain shot through his arm and side, but he held the debris long enough for the warriors to move to safety. He gritted his teeth and pushed the rock away, sustaining minor injuries but preventing disaster. Princess Alara saw his bravery and rushed to his side. Are you hurt badly? She asked. I am fine, Nico said, standing with effort. We must focus on the battle. Protecting the tribe comes first. The fight continued for hours. Nico directed the Xerians with precision, coordinating strikes, defenses, and retreats. He used his understanding of human tactics to anticipate enemy movements and adapt quickly. The Xerians followed his guidance, trusting his instincts as the sun began to set. The northern fleet began to falter. Nico noticed the enemy leader, a large ship with powerful weapons, attempting to retreat and regroup. Do not let them escape, he shouted. We must ensure they cannot attack again. The Xerians launched a coordinated strike, targeting the leader's weak points. Nico guided them carefully, combining human precision and Xerian skill. The enemy ship was forced to surrender, and the remaining ships retreated. The camp erupted in cheers, victorious but exhausted. Queen Solara approached Nico, her expression a mixture of relief and admiration. You have saved my people again, she said. Your courage, wisdom, and sacrifice are beyond measure. Without you, we might have lost everything. Nico bowed slightly, feeling both pride and humility. I only did what was necessary, he said. Your people are brave. I only guided them. Alara stepped forward, her eyes shining. You are more than a guide, she said. You are a protector, a friend, and someone I can trust completely. You risked yourself for us, again and again. That is more than courage. It is heart. Nico felt a warmth in his chest. The bond between him and Alara had grown stronger through the trials and the battle. He realized that his purpose on Viridia was no longer just about survival or proving humanity's worth. It was about protecting those he cared for, building trust, and creating a future where humans and Xerians could stand together in the aftermath of the battle. The camp worked to repair damages. Nico moved among the warriors, helping where he could. The young warriors who had once doubted him now looked at him with respect and admiration. The older warriors nodded in approval, recognizing that his strategies and bravery had been key to their survival. That evening, Nico and Alara sat together near the cliffs, watching the moons rise over the valley. The stars reflected in the calm waters below, creating a peaceful scene after the chaos of the day. You have done more than anyone could expect, Alara said softly. You have not only saved lives, but you have also shown us that humans can be honorable and brave. Your presence has changed our tribe. Nico smiled faintly. I have learned as much from you as you have from me, he said. Your people are wise, brave, and full of heart. I am honored to fight alongside you. Alara looked at him with admiration. I hope others will see what I see, she said. Humans may be few, but your actions show what we can achieve when we work together. Perhaps our worlds are not so different after all. The bond between them deepened, not just through shared danger, but through mutual respect and understanding. Nico realized that protecting Viridia was not just about strategy and courage. It was about compassion, loyalty, and the willingness to put others before oneself. These qualities, he understood, were what made humans and Xerians alike strong and capable. The next days were quieter, allowing the camp to recover from the battle. Nico continued to train the warriors, helping them combine human tactics with Xerian skills. Princess Alara remained by his side, learning and observing, strengthening both her leadership and their friendship. Queen Solara called Nico to her pavilion once more. You have proven yourself in battle, in strategy, and in loyalty, she said. The tribe respects you. The princess trusts you, and you have shown the heart of a protector. You are no longer just a human outsider. You are part of our people, Nico bowed, humbled by her words. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said. I only wish to serve and protect, the queen smiled. Your actions have already spoken louder than words, she said. You have earned a place among us, and soon there may be a greater honor awaiting you, one that few outsiders ever receive. Nico's heart beat faster, not with fear, but with anticipation. He had faced danger, proven his loyalty, and earned the trust of an entire tribe. But he knew that this was only the beginning. Greater challenges and responsibilities awaited, and he was ready to face them, guided by courage, wisdom, and the growing bond with Princess Aelia. As night fell, Nico and Alara stood together at the edge of the cliff, looking out at the valley below. The camp was quiet, the fires glowing softly, and the stars reflecting on the calm waters. They knew that the battle had been won, but the future still held uncertainties. Yet for the first time, Nico felt a deep sense of belonging. He was no longer an outsider. He was a protector, a friend, and someone who could help shape the future of Viridia. And as the moons rose high in the sky, Nico made a silent promise to himself: no matter the danger, no matter the cost, he would protect Princess Aelia, her people, and the bond they had built. For courage, loyalty, and heart were the true strength of any hero, human or Xerian. The morning sun bathed the cliffs of Viridia in gold and silver. The air was crisp, and the valley below shimmered with life. Nico walked through the camp, his armor repaired and shining faintly. The battle with the northern fleet had passed, but the memory of it remained fresh. Every warrior he passed nodded with respect, and the younger Xerians smiled at him. Proud of their human ally, Princess Aelia approached, carrying a small scroll. Nico, she said softly, the queen wishes to speak with you. Nico nodded, adjusting his armor. I will follow you, he said. Together, they walked to the center of the camp, where Queen Solara waited. Her regal posture was as commanding as ever, but her eyes held warmth today. You have done more than any outsider could have done, she said. You have saved lives, protected the tribe, and shown wisdom beyond your years. Your courage and loyalty have strengthened our people, and for that, you have earned more than respect. You have earned a place among us. Nico bowed respectfully. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said. I only did what was necessary to protect your people. The queen smiled. There is a greater honor I wish to bestow. You have proven that humans are capable of bravery, wisdom, and heart. Therefore, I grant you full citizenship of Viridia. You are no longer an outsider. You are one of us. Nico felt a rush of gratitude. Citizenship was a symbol of trust and belonging, something few humans had ever received on Viridia. I am humbled, Your Majesty, he said. I will honor this gift with my life. Aelia stepped forward, her silver hair catching the sunlight. And there is another reason, Nico, she said softly. You have risked yourself to protect me, to protect our people, and to show that humans can be honorable. I wish to stand beside you, not only as a friend, but as a partner in life. Nico blinked. Feeling warmth spread through his chest. He had never expected this moment. Aelia, he said gently, I'm honored. I would be proud to stand beside you. Now and always. Queen Solara raised her hand, signaling her approval. Then it is decided. You shall be united in marriage, a symbol of the bond between humans and Xerians. Your union will strengthen the friendship of our peoples and ensure a future of trust and cooperation. The camp erupted in celebration. Banners were raised, and fires lit the gathering grounds. Music, both human and Xerian, filled the air, blending rhythms and melodies in a harmonious celebration. Nico felt a sense of joy he had never known. He had come to Viridia as a soldier, an outsider, but he was leaving as part of a family, a community, and a future he could believe in. The preparations for the ceremony were unlike anything Nico had seen. Xerian artisans decorated the pavilion with glowing crystals and woven fabrics that shimmered in the sunlight. Human decorations, simple and practical, were added to honor his origins. The blending of cultures symbolized unity, and everyone in the camp was eager to witness the event. Princess Alara stood before him, dressed in ceremonial attire that reflected her status and the traditions of her people. Nico wore a ceremonial suit of human design, reinforced with Xerian elements. As they faced each other, the air was filled with a sense of anticipation and reverence. Queen Selara began the ceremony. Today, we honor bravery, loyalty, and love. We honor the bond between two worlds, and the courage of one human who risked all to protect our people. Nico, do you vow to protect Princess Alara, her people, and the values of this tribe? With your strength, wisdom, and heart? I do, Nico replied firmly, meeting her gaze with unwavering determination. And you, Princess Alara, do you vow to stand beside Nico, to trust him, and to build a life together based on honor, respect, and love? I do, Alara said, her voice steady and clear. She looked at Nico, and in her eyes he saw trust, admiration, and a bond that could not be broken. Queen Selara smiled, raising her hands. Then it is done. By the authority of the Xerian tribe, and with the blessings of all who stand here, you are united. May your lives bring strength, harmony, and hope to our people. The crowd cheered, and the ceremony concluded with music, dancing, and laughter. Nico and Alara walked together through the camp, greeting friends and allies. Nico felt pride not in his armor or his skills, but in the trust and love he had earned. The people of Viridia had accepted him fully, and that acceptance was more valuable than any medal or reward. Over the next days, Nico and Alara worked to strengthen the bonds between humans and Xerians. Nico taught simple techniques to improve farming, construction, and defense. Alara guided him in leadership, diplomacy, and understanding the nuances of Xerian culture. Together, they created a partnership that combined the best of both worlds. The young warriors continued to train under Nico's guidance, learning not only fighting skills, but also strategy, patience, and teamwork. He encouraged them to think creatively, to adapt, and to respect their environment and each other. The older warriors supported him, impressed by his humility and intelligence. The camp prospered. Trade routes opened with neighboring clans, guided by the wisdom of Nico and the diplomacy of Queen Selara. Conflicts that once seemed inevitable were resolved peacefully. The tribe's confidence grew, and the human who had once been an outsider became a symbol of hope and unity. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Nico and Alara stood on a cliff overlooking the valley. The air was calm, filled with the sounds of the camp below. "We have come far," Alara said softly. "Yes," Nico replied. "From the moment I met you, from the moment I broke my armor to save your life. Everything has changed. I never imagined that I would belong here, but now I do." Alara smiled. "You have shown us the heart of a human. Courage, loyalty, and kindness can change the course of a world. You have proven that humans are not just outsiders. You are capable of greatness, and now we see it for ourselves." Nico took her hand, feeling the warmth and trust between them. "And I have learned from you," he said. "Your people taught me patience, respect, and the power of unity. Together, we can create a future that honors both our worlds." The moons reflected in the waters of the valley, casting silver light on the camp. Nico looked around at the people he had fought to protect, the friends he had made, and the community that had embraced him. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He was no longer just a soldier or a human in a foreign world. He was a protector, a leader, and part of a family that spanned worlds. Days turned into weeks, and life in the camp became harmonious. Nico and Alara worked together to train the warriors, strengthen the defenses, and promote understanding between humans and Xerians. They traveled across the valley and neighboring regions, establishing alliances, teaching, and sharing knowledge. Through it all, their bond grew stronger. They faced challenges, but always together. They celebrated victories and learned from setbacks. And through every experience, they demonstrated that courage, empathy, and collaboration could overcome differences of species, culture, and history. One afternoon, Nico stood with Alara at the highest cliff, watching the horizon. Ships moved in the distance, not as threats, but as friends and allies. The skies were filled with the promise of a future shaped by trust, courage, and unity. Alara leaned on his shoulder. "We have done much, but there is still more to learn and build," she said. Nico smiled. "And we will face it together, humans and Xerians, side by side. Nothing can break the bond we have created." As the sun set, casting the valley in shades of gold and pink, Nico felt a deep sense of peace. He had come to Veridia as an outsider, risked everything to save a princess. And through courage, loyalty, and heart, he had found a place to belong. Princess Alara took his hand, and together they looked out at the world they had helped protect and shape. The camp below was alive with music, laughter, and celebration. The tribe had survived, thrived, and embraced a future filled with hope. Nico realized that heroism was not just about fighting battles. It was about building trust, inspiring others, and acting with courage and compassion. It was about connection, understanding, and love. And in that moment, standing beside Alara, he knew he had achieved all of it. The moons rose high in the sky, reflecting light across the valley and the camp. Nico and Alara stood together, ready to face the future, to protect their people, and to live a life filled with purpose, honor, and love. The story of a human who broke his armor to save a princess had become a story of courage, unity, and the bond between worlds. Nico had proven that even in a universe filled with uncertainty, heart and bravery could shape destinies. And as he held Alara's hand, he knew that this was only the beginning of a life full of adventure, trust, and shared dreams.